Michella Chester here with NCAA Digital. Adam Kramer here with me today with Bleacher Report. Adam, thanks for joining me today. We did a way too early look at the 2021 college football season a while ago. Now, college football is here. Didn't think it would be here, but it's already here this weekend. We're going to do some more predictions, and I'm going to throw you into it right away. Can you give me your prediction for the CFP field and your national champion pick?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong, right, in deciding a playoff and a champion? But no, I feel pretty good about this. Some off seasons,
Okay.
your confidence is a little higher than others. So we'll see. Of course, that means none of them are going to be right. I like Georgia. I like Ohio State. I like Oklahoma. And I like Clemson. I'll get to the national champ of those four in a sec. I think these are four different teams. When you look at in terms of scheduling, I think Clemson, outside of an opening game, which I think we'll talk about here in a little bit, it's a pretty easy schedule in terms of the ACC. The ACC undergoing a lot of different changes. Clemson, in terms of talent, I think has a chance to once again dominate their conference. Ohio State, look, we have a new quarterback, but we've got lots of quarterbacks to pick from, and we have a ton of talent on offense, specifically Ryan Day. Some of the other members of the Big Ten I like. I like Wisconsin. I like Iowa. I think Penn State's going to have a bounce back. I just think the talent gap between Ohio State and the other teams is growing, even without Justin Fields there. Georgia maybe is the most interesting one. Georgia fans have been waiting for a team like this, to me. And maybe you know where I'm going with my national champion pick. I just think there's so much talent on display. There's a lot of moving parts in the SEC. I think this is the team that Kirby Smart has trying to build. And finally, Oklahoma, again, conference dominance. Really interested in Texas. I think they could have a better season. I think Iowa State, of course, has some great players, and this is the best team they've had in a long time. Spencer Rattler, Oklahoma offense, I think is just going to be too good. And then my national champion pick, it's Georgia. They've had some injuries, I think, in the preseason that are a bit concerning. And this is a team, how can I say this politely? The narrative has always been like, when? They have all the resources. They have all the talent. They have the coaches. This is that team. And I just think overall, they get past that first game. Alabama is rebuilding. You've got other teams in the SEC that are in a bit of a rebuild mode. The competition is going to be absolutely insane. I just think this Georgia team is so good in so many places. I think they finally found their quarterback that could take them to the next level.
Yeah, Adam, you were big on Georgia a few months ago. You still are, but no Bama in that field.
No Bama. And to me, that is, it feels like a bold take. That's the bold take I'm hanging on to, because this is the team that you're used to being the number one seed. They've been the AP number one a bazillion times in the last 10 years. To me, I think for them, this is going to be a challenging year by Alabama standards. You think about what they lost, right? You lost the Heisman winning wide receiver. You lost a top 10 wide receiver in Jalen Waddle. You lost your quarterback in Mac Jones, who was spectacular, one of the best running backs they've ever had, pieces on an offensive line that were the best in football. I think defensively as well, a shutdown cornerback. I know we just assumed that Nick Saban's going to replace, right? Lather, rinse, repeat. That's what Alabama does. And maybe they will again. Bryce Young at quarterback, I really like. I don't think it's going to be easy. And I think the schedule's got some teeth on it as well when you look at some of the road games that they have.
All right, excited to hear this next prediction. Can you pick a Heisman winner and maybe a few top players that we should know about going into the season?
I think that there's a few places that I look. Now, I am one that wants a defensive player to win this award. I would love Kayvon Thibodeau to win this award from Oregon. Okay, it was thrilling to see Devonta Smith win this award from Alabama. But when I look at this still, the landscape is find a quarterback on a dominant team. And I look at two places. I look at Georgia, I look at Clemson. I think DJ Uiagalelei is just, and I said it, I believe, correct. I've done a story on DJ. I've talked to his family. I'm working on it still. It's been years in the making. When we saw glimpses of him last year, it was brilliant. I mean, I think he's got one of the strongest arms college football has seen in the last 10 years. That is not hyperbole. And when Trevor couldn't play, he came in, played at Notre Dame, even though they lost that game. He was outstanding. I think he's the full package. Like, if you're going to build a quarterback, I truly believe this is what he looks like. This is the makeup. And I know his makeup as a human being, too, and his family. And I'm really excited for him to get the opportunity at Clemson. I think Clemson's got some really good pieces around him. JT Daniels. Look, if I'm picking Georgia to win the national championship, the quarterback's going to be a big part of it. That's usually how this award goes. Last year was injured, got in late. I thought played really well. And again, surrounded by talent. It's not just the quarterback, it's the talent around him. Spencer Rattler, of course, at Oklahoma, should have a tremendous year. Bit of a slow start last year, statistically speaking, working with Lincoln Riley, working with a lot of really good players. I know it's kind of boring, right? This is a boring way to pick the Heisman. I'm gonna have to give one running back to you to just do something different from a quarterback. Bijan Robinson from Texas. I thought Steve Sarkisian coming in, that offense where they're going to get running backs involved, not just from a running standpoint, but from catching the ball. I think Bijan is fit to really work in this offense. And last year, toward the end of the season, as his workload increased, that was a guy that really, really impressed me. A guy that I saw live in high school, and I said it. I think he's one of the best. He might be the best high school athlete I've ever seen in person. I think he could really, really dominate at Texas and maybe push to win this award.
All right, Adam, in your opinion, do we have a surprise team this year or teams?
I think Coastal Carolina, can I call them a surprise again? They did this last year. I look at that roster. I think they can absolutely do it again. Don't know if I could do the same, Cincinnati in the same respect, but I think if Cincinnati can make a push for the playoff, I was very close, by the way, to having Cincinnati in my playoff. So when I'm talking about surprise, I'm talking about teams that could really crash through the front door and push, really turn the sport on its side. And we saw that last year. And maybe we thought it was kind of a shortened season. It was a little bit, jumbled in terms of how the results came to be. I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think these teams, starting with those two, Louisiana, who's got a great opportunity against Texas in the opener, these were really, really good football teams. So when I look at this, I'm always going to go to the quote unquote little guys. I love that story. And I thought last year we really saw them assert themselves in a way that they haven't. I'm hoping we could see that again.
Yeah, so you think they weren't a fluke last year. That's a storyline I'm excited to see play out this year. But how about the game of the year, in your opinion?
I think you don't have to wait long to see it. I'm as excited for Clemson, Georgia, as I've been for any opening football game, and I don't know how long. In terms of NFL talent, these are two of the best recruiting teams in the country. There are probably dozens of players in this game that are going to be on NFL sidelines at some point. I think the quarterbacks are great. I think they've got great receivers. They've got great defensive players. Just if you like watching great athletes perform, this is the game for you. Now, the part of this that's really interesting is sort of the stakes. And where maybe my argument comes apart is the loser of this game is not out of it by any means. The loser of this game has a chance to thrive. I think the selection committee is going to look at them and say, hey, thank you for playing each other, as they should do. We're not going to bounce a Clemson or a Georgia back very far. I think both of these teams, well, as seen by my playoff, have a chance to make the playoff and will still make the playoff. I guess the other game, I'll give you the game that I've had circled too, because that's the obvious one. I got to give you something else. Alabama at Texas A&M.
Okay.
I've been really, really enjoying watching Texas A&M come full circle under Jimbo Fisher. We saw that last year, nearly made the playoff. No Kellen Mond this year. They lose piece of their offensive line. This is a team that's been kind of groomed to be in this moment, and playing at home in that environment, a Bama team that's rebuilding, this is the spot. If you've been waiting for a chance, and Jimbo Fisher has kind of jokingly alluded about like going after the crown of Alabama and Nick Saban, this at the home field, I think is going to be an unbelievable atmosphere, and I think they have a chance to do it.
All right, Adam, you might have already told me earlier, but I was going to ask your boldest prediction. Did we already cover that?
I think so, but I'll explain why. Alabama not making the playoff is, I feel like, pretty bold. And I don't know if I could come up with a more meaningful, bold prediction than that. Cincinnati almost making the playoff, I'm kind of like, half in, half out. We've locked this team in to just be the dominant force of college football. And so it pains me to do this. And I'll probably hear from some of my friends at Alabama saying, like, what are you doing? You know better. And maybe I do know better. I just think even as easy and normal as Nick Saban makes this yearly reboot look, which he has, this is a much taller order. I respect the talent that they had on the roster last year so much, not to mention another coordinator change. You lose Steve Sarkisian, who was so good for them on the offensive side. I just think this is not going to be a tough year for Alabama by any means, but I do think this year is going to present some more challenges than normal Alabama season. I know how normally if you say a team's not going to make the playoff, that's not really very bold. For Alabama, of course, my inbox and my mentions will be full because of that.
Yeah, that is a hot take or a bold prediction if I've ever seen one, but we love it. Adam, I appreciate your time. Thanks for making some really difficult predictions here today. Looking forward to the season. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you.